Hello, Pirate Dave here with another week, another comic book haul. It is February 18th, 2026. I actually don't have any new issues today. It's bit of a rainy week in San Diego and SoCal in general. So that's just enough reason to not want to go to the comic book shop. But I thought I'd share a bit of a mail call haul, some of the books that I've gotten in the mail recently, some older collections that I've been wanting to pick up. Starting off, we have Jodorowsky and Mobius's The Incal. I don't know much about this book in particular. I really bought this for the two names. I've had Jodorowsky on my to be read list for a while. He did a series with Milo Manara called the Bourgeois. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but it's kind of in the back of my to be read Manara pile. I have a couple more books to get through before we get there. And of course, Mobius is a name that anybody should probably know about, being a fan of sequential art in general. I've heard Jodorowsky can come up with some wild premises, some wild developments. And then Mobius, of course, has just such a wonderful, deep aesthetic. I mean, I don't want to cause any conflicts or challenges, but it reminds me very much of the type of depth you'll see from a lot of Milo Manara's really elaborate, detailed paneling. I wouldn't call their aesthetic quite comparable. Manara definitely has much more of a sultry eroticism to everything that he draws. And I would say Mobius appears to be much more imaginative, much more conventional, which that's probably one of the most unfair things to say about looking at this artwork. I just mean in terms of a little bit a little bit spicy there. Just in terms of you know the general aesthetic. He's not, obviously, as you could see, he does go into the eroticism a little bit, but not his panels are not dripping with it the way that Manara's are. It seems like he has a bit more of a wider imagination rather than rooting everything in sexuality. I also picked up The Eyes of the Cat by the same creators, Mobius and Jodorowsky. This was a package deal. This is a lot deal on eBay. I picked this up for both books for $30. This is cover price $35, and the Incal collection is cover price $45. So that's under half, and that's been what I've been trying to go for, right? So New Year's resolution maintained, but by the end of this video, we're going to see that it doesn't. I didn't quite stick to it, but I did a pretty good job about tempering my spending. And yeah, so it looks like this is more of a black and white or a black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow book. And already I can tell it's going to be very atmospheric, with the Incal being so considerable in terms of length. Actually, a little bit relieved that that's a little bit thinner, but I've got to say that for a black and white book and $35, I mean, it is a nice hardcover, but that would have been, pricey for me. Up next, we have the Frank book. I was recommended this. The artist, Jim Woodring, came into discussion recently. I had read the Ring of the Nibelung, DC's Ring of the Nibelung, and Jim Woodring did some of the color work and maybe some of the illustration, but I think he's just credited as a colorist on that book. And that just got me talking to a fellow League member about, what should I check out from Jim Woodring? And this book came up, the Frank book. In terms of, looks like the introduction is by Francis Ford Coppola. Look at that. In looking up Jim Woodring, he's much more of a classic cartoonist, I should say, not so much classical. I would say narratively, he seems to be the complete opposite of everything that we see from R. Crumb. These panels are completely silent, and from what I read, that's his bread and butter. He conveys a lot of his narrative through silence, much less perversion, I would say, although we can see some some risque stuff going through these pages, but certainly not, while he clearly dips into the grotesque, certainly not to the degree that Robert Crumb goes with it. And I picked this up for $20, and cover price is $35. So a little bit over half off, but it was a mood. It was a mood purchase. And I picked it up with some of these other books, so it worked out a little bit. Next we have P. Craig Russell, and it's one of his opera collections. I know that he adapted many operas, The Ring of the Nibelung included, the one that I have not read, although that will soon be rectified. This looks like it may contain, look at that, Siegfried and the Dragon, Chapter 7. I wonder if it does contain some of his Ring of the Nibelung. I'm not sure what the timeline is on when he did that work compared to these other works. And I can't say that I'm super well versed in operas. I know some of the popular ones, Nibelung, Carmen, things like that. But if you'd like a list, there you go. You can pause it. And, I'll have links to all these books on League of Comic Geek, so you can see more information about them. But really, this was for a P. Craig Russell kind of deep dive that I've been doing recently. And you can just see amazing, amazing stuff. And it's not just, of course, his technical ability in terms of drawing physiology, anatomy, things like that. But I mean, you get panels like that with such wonderful perspectives. And for the opera fan, I mean, this has to be, this kind of stuff has to be must own. I won't say that I'm an opera fan necessarily. I won't say that I'm not an opera fan. I just haven't, I haven't explored them very much. Although when I did read DC's Ring of the Nibelung by Gil Kane and Roy Thomas, I did listen to the accompanying opera, The Ring of the Nibelung. So, and I will do the same when I get P. Craig Russell's. And then the last one that we have for today is a collection of P. Craig Russell books, Fairy Tales of Oscar Wilde. 3 books total. These are very much the size of children's books on the surface, but you will see that in opening them up, they are much more of a, see there, Oscar Wilde. This first volume includes The Selfish Giant and The Star Child. And I won't say that I'm super familiar with Oscar Wilde's fairy tales, but I will be after I read these. And so you can see they're much more of a conventional graphic novel format rather than a children's book. And you can also see that the aesthetic is appropriately adjusted for something that, even though it's not classified traditionally as a children's book format, it is a children's book, right? Children are certainly intended to read and enjoy this more than a 40-year-old male. But nevertheless, I did not enjoy it when I was a child, so I will enjoy it now. And we'll take a look through some of the other ones. This has The Young King and The Remarkable Rocket. And you see that's certainly a dated dated illustration there, but contemporary sentiment should not always compel history to cater to it, right? And this is wonderful, wonderful artwork. These wonderful stories existed, and they will continue to exist, regardless of what sort of sensibilities we enjoy. And all of these books have a number, by the way, on the top there. So I don't know if there's more in the series. I imagine there is. Hopefully there is. It'd be wonderful to have just a whole run of these on the shelf there. Sorry about that. This is the birthday of the Infanta. It's like a giant child or a man child of some sort. Maybe a Quasimodo-esque figure. And again, it is much more of a calmer aesthetic, just a little bit cartoony. You can see things like in his nose, just a little bit more rounded and things like that, rather than the very faithful anatomy and physiology that could be seen in the opera book. Well, that's it for this week. I will be picking up new issues next week, assuming it isn't raining, which is very rarely the case in San Diego. I hope you had a great week ahead of you, wherever it is that you are. Hopefully, it's not raining. And I will see you next time. Bye.